Hello, my name's Lynn Simpson. I'm the Chief Exec of North Cumbria Integrated Care Trust, and I'm delighted to spend a few minutes with you today talking about what we've been doing in the last year, but actually focusing a little bit more on the future as we move forward. You'll recall that the first 6 months of the year focused on some major transactions, which is quite unusual for such a lot to take place in one short period of time. Let's just reflect on those. So we had the transfer of mental health and learning disability services to CNTW and also to South Cumbria. That went remarkably smoothly and services are doing very well. We also saw the merger of the Partnership Trust with the Acute Trust, and again that went very well as a transaction. I think it's fair to say that we're a year on now. We're still doing a lot of the developmental work because things don't happen by chance. We have to work hard at ensuring that we merge those services together and we become one organisation moving forward. We have experienced some major challenges during the year, and many of you will recall these. As winter set in, patient flow became a major challenge for us, and in many ways that was reflected across the whole of the country. It's always difficult as you move into winter with flu, with more ill patients, more elderly patients requiring hospital treatment. But at that time, and when I arrived in January, I noted that the Trust had a very high number of escalation beds open, in the region of 100 plus. This isn't sustainable and was putting a lot of pressure on our staff. So we addressed that immediately, and we've continued to work on that throughout the year. In February, I began staff engagement sessions supported by the executive team and the comms team. That was just as the staff results from the staff survey for both former organisations were published. There was a lot to learn from that, and we've considered that in depth throughout the year. You'll recall that the results sent a strong signal to the organisation. Basically, culturally, we have a lot to do. People will say we've got a mountain to climb, but we can climb those mountains together. But fundamentally, we need to make this a better place for patients and a better place for our staff in which to work. Just moving out of that, we came to the end of February, early March, and we started our preparations for the coronavirus pandemic. That resulted in a lot of our routine services being suspended from the end of March, and a massive task for us in preparing to deal with the pandemic, something that the country had never dealt with before. I don't want to say an awful lot about the pandemic. We've done lots of lessons learned. I just want to thank all staff who went the extra mile, patients, visitors, and the voluntary sector who helped us immensely across the whole of Cumbria. It was very well received. So what have we achieved throughout the year? Well, we've got some things to congratulate ourselves on. We started the work on the new 35 million cancer centre. The first bricks were laid in January to mark the start of that new work, and this is going to be fantastic for patients. It's a lovely environment. It's due to be complete and opening in 2021, and I'm really excited about that. I'm sure it will attract lots of staff, nursing, medical support staff to work in that unit. So well done to everyone for keeping us on track with that, despite the pandemic. We're also continuing work at the West Cumberland Hospital. I now know that the demolition work has been complete to make way for the next phase of the redevelopment, and our outline business case is sat with Region. And in fact, just this week we're going to be talking to them about how that's progressing. So I think it's a really good case. I think that will build on services for patients in the West. And then our community hospital refurbishments, they are a massive part of our infrastructure here in Cumbria, and we've seen the extension of Keswick Hospital, creating a new 4-bedded ward in October 2019, a 1 million refurbishment at Brampton Hospital, which opened in July 2020, and I have to say here a huge thanks to the League of Friends, who provided the substantial donations towards this work. Following that whistle-stop tour of the last year, I'd like to think about concentrating now on how we move forward. I think it's all to play for. We've got a great organisation, we've got great staff, and I think we can create a great future for us here. So what's the narrative for us? The narrative is we are here to provide safe services to high quality standards. That's our primary focus. We'll be clinically focused and we want to work with a motivated workforce. We'll be financially responsive and we want to create a positive managerial and leadership style. And I want you all to be part of this. It's not about the board, it's not about the executive, it's about the whole family of services that work together to provide this. Our transformational work, which is what that's all based on, is moving forward. The NCIC way, this is the way that we're going to describe what we're about. The North Cumbria Integrated Care Trust way is about 5 key principles based on that brief narrative I described before. And what are those 5 principles? 1, it's about being clinically led. Our clinicians should drive the way that we want to deliver services. It's about putting safety at the heart of every single thing that we do. It's about getting back to basics and making sure we get those simple things right. It's about making that patient experience a great experience every time, whether they phone the organisation, whether they're coming in to visit someone, or whether they're coming in for treatment themselves. And it's also about making it a good place for you, so you want to come to work and you say good stories about your experience at work. And then wrapped around that, I want us to have what I would say is good financial stewardship, but that's really about using our money well. Together, as part of a bigger system, I think we can create this as a wonderful place to work.